Hey everybody, this is Ben here, that Cologne guy, coming at you with a new top 10 list. I am really having a good time with these. I really enjoy these. They take a lot of investigation throughout the week, but it's fun. It's also been kind of fun for me because you know, when I review one fragrance each week, I wear that fragrance all week, and so it's actually been kind of fun to go through my collection again and wear different fragrances. So I'm enjoying the top 10 lists. I hope you are as well. And next week I'll be doing First Friday. The first Friday of every month I do a full review of a fragrance. But this week I'm looking at top 10 tobacco-based fragrances, with the slight caveat that all of them are not necessarily tobacco-based. That was actually kind of difficult for me. Many of these have tobacco in them, but we could probably go back and forth and have a friendly debate on whether or not some of these are tobacco-based, but they have tobacco in them. I have three honorable mentions. I have a lot of ties, and then I have fragrances that I will consider in the future. So, if I don't mention your favorite tobacco-based fragrance in the top 10 list, you should check out the bonus features at the end of the episode, and maybe it appears there. All right, so before I dive in, let me just say really, really quick that this episode is in honor of Sandy. Sandy is my friend, and she has a talk show that is on YouTube, actually, and I will put that in the description box, and it's called Sandy Talks Sheet. And she talks about true crime, and I am a huge fan of true crime shows. So I was on her show. We talked, it wasn't about fragrance, actually. We talked about Forensic Files, one of my favorite shows, and we did our top fives. So top 10 and top 5 lists just abound, apparently. But we had so much fun. And she mentioned in that episode that she had smelled, I think it was in her church, but I don't recall. She had smelled somebody that had a tobacco-based fragrance, and she really liked it, was wondering which one it was. And she was also curious about tobacco-based fragrances for men and for women and unisex. And so I compiled this list in honor of her. So check out her show. And Sandy, this is for you. So without further ado, let's dive in on the categories and the list. I have a lot of ties. I have a lot of things going on. This was actually a really difficult list to compile because I love tobacco. And as you know, many of these that I'm going to mention are heavy, heavy hitters. It was difficult to find a tobacco note that would be great for day wear, maybe for the office. But most of these that I'm going to mention are big players in frag com. Okay, so what we can learn here is tobacco is a very popular note in frag com. All right, frag heads, here we go. And I'll update you really quick too. Last week I mentioned that I made a joke about saying all 41 people who are going to watch this episode will get this, and it was 43. So for the 2 people who watched that episode last week, the last 2, thank you very much. So why don't we say, should we shoot for, how about 64? Why don't we say for the 64 people who watched this episode, thank you very much. I want to thank all the recent subscribers. Seriously, though, speaking, since last Friday, we have absolutely had a barrage of new subscribers, and I really appreciate that. And today is the 26th, but by the end of this month, February 28th, in 2 more days, I will surpass the 25,000 total view mark. Really, really appreciate all of your support. Always let me know how I can improve the channel, and I really take your comments to heart, and I try to improve and give you the product that you deserve. So thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. All right, so this is the list. Here we go. And I guess the question that begs to be asked is, where and when will Tobacco Vanille show up on the list? Stay tuned and find out. All right, I got to the intro just a tad late on that, but I hope you appreciated that. Let's dive in, shall we? The first category is honorable mention, and I actually have 3. And part of the reason why I'm including one of them is because I'm trying to help Sandy, as I said, because I have a feeling I know there's probably 3 or 4 fragrances that she smelled that day, and I wanted to include this one, if nothing else, for her. Spice Bomb. So let's let's talk about this. When it comes to Victor and Rolf's Spice Bomb, the bottle is truly hideous. Okay, if I made an episode of the top 3 hideous bottles, and maybe even top 5, because what's the one that the Machino, like the Windex one, that's just awful. Some of the worst ones for me, as you know, are Invictus, which is the trophy bottle where the guy's got it on his shoulder walking around. It's really bad. Then the other one that I think is awful is Wanted by Azzaro. I think it's Azzaro, and it's got the bullets from a pistol. Yeah, it's just not working for me. And then the third one actually is this one, which is a grenade. So thumbs down for the bottle, but I have to include it as honorable mention because it is wildly, wildly popular. I personally don't like it. I wish I did because I know it's incredibly popular in Fragcom, but I personally don't care for it. But I am putting it as my honorable mention in part for Sandy, but also because it warrants to be on the list as an honorable mention because it is one of the most popular fragrances that includes tobacco. So whether it be the Spice Bomb or Spice Bomb Extreme, whichever, they both have it, and I wanted to include it. The second one would be one I reviewed actually 2 years ago, which is Herod by Parfum de Marly. That one's a really, really nice one. I can't say I'm as enthusiastic as you guys are about that one because that one is another one that's just wildly popular, but I like it. I don't love it, but I really, 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 really like it, and I wanted to include that one on this list. It's an interesting one. It's about $125, so it's kind of in between like a designer and a niche, but again, very popular, very good. I liked it a lot. And then the third one, of course, which is not tobacco-based, but it has tobacco in it. You know you like it. You're going to tell me in comments you don't, but you secretly do, and that is Armani Code. Don't roll your eyes. Do not roll your eyes at me. Armani Code rules, folks. I don't care about 2012 and on and how the reformulation and no longevity. I got it. I understand that. I wish it was the original, but Armani Code rules. Absolutely love it. It has tobacco. It has so much going on in that. I rocked that juice for years. Love it. I understand the reformulation is not as good. One reason why I kept it off my list, by the way, it included as an honorable mention. You like it. All right, so best everyday women's. This one for me is a unisex fragrance that I absolutely love. In fact, it made it on to my Iris list last week, which is Volu. So I looked it up. It's Volutes. I'll put it here in post later. But I didn't know if it was Volutes or Volutes or Volois. I didn't know. And actually, I looked up the pronunciation today, and it's Volu. And it apparently means scrolls in French. So it is a Volu by Diptyque. And that is my choice for best everyday women's. It's unisex, though. In fact, I eventually will be having a bottle. Really appreciate that one. I like that one a lot. The second category is best everyday men's, and I have a tie for this one. And I mean, a lot of these are going to be. I mean, I'm going to be smiling pretty much this whole list because these are really heavy hitters. Number one is Pure Havane by Thierry Mugler, and then the second one is Burberry London. I personally like Burberry London better for two reasons. Number one is, I mean, its nickname is Christmas Tree in a Bottle, so, I mean, there you have it. It's also a cheapie. And then Thierry Mugler's Pure Havane is phenomenal. It's just that I love Pure Malt, and I feel like they're kind of a rival. Everyone always tells me that Pure Havane is way better than Pure Malt, and they're wrong, okay? So Pure Malt is phenomenal, and so I will have it a tie. How's that? Pure Havane by Thierry Mugler, and then Burberry London. These are tough, though, because I do admit that Burberry London would be difficult to wear like 365 days a year. Tobacco-based fragrances are pretty tough in the heat, folks. So you might want to maybe wear Pure Havane most days and then keep Burberry London for the winter. I don't know. But there you have it. Best unisex for me, I also have a tie. And to answer my original teaser question, it has to be Tobacco Vanille. By Tom Ford. Of course, like it or not, Tobacco Vanille needs to be on the list. I know some people feel like it's too sweet, it has too much vanilla and not enough tobacco. Some of his fragrances because they are so expensive. And then, if they don't last like 10 hours, people feel kind of ripped off. I totally understand that. And then the second one, though, the tie for me in Best Unisex is one of my favorites on this list, and that is Tobacco Rouge by, is it Phaedon? P-H-A-E-D-O-N. I absolutely love that one. I had a sample of that years ago, and I definitely need to get a bottle of that eventually once I get a second job. But that is Tobacco Rouge. Needs to be on this list. Best Men's Niche. This one, again, will be debatable. It's not really tobacco-based, but it has tobacco in it. It has so much in this one. Because I'm an Amouage fanboy, you knew I was going to go there, and I am. And it is Journeyman by Amouage. And the Best Women's Niche is, oh yes, Journey Woman by Amouage. If you can afford them, they are amazing. So I have 3 more categories left here. I also have, and I have some ties coming up. Sexiest Men's, I really wrestled with this one, and I have to have a tie. And that is, one of them you'll be able to predict. Sexiest Men's Tobacco-Based Fragrance. You can probably pick that one up. And then, of course, is The One by Dolce & Gabbana. EDT or EDP. I personally prefer the EDP, although it does have a little bit more citrus in it. I guess if you were looking strictly at tobacco, the EDT might be a little bit better, which is Eau de Toilette. But it doesn't last, at least on my skin. How long does it last for you? I mean, on my skin, it lasts seriously like an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours. So I would prefer the EDP for that one because you do get better longevity. It is a phenomenal fragrance. I mean, The One really is a fantastic fragrance. I just wish it would last longer, but the EDP does help that. And it is tied with Tobacco Oud by Tom Ford. Really appreciate think about it. Cinnamon, oud, and tobacco all in one fragrance. Wow. Absolutely love that about this fragrance. This is another one that I need to get my hands on for a full bottle. And maybe I'll try to review it sometime, actually, because I haven't seen a ton of reviews. People always talk about Tobacco Vanille for Tom Ford, but not necessarily about Tobacco Oud. So I wanted to include that one. I couldn't decide between the two. I personally, I like the notes more in Tobacco Oud. Excuse me, but I think The One is a little bit more accessible in terms of price. So it is a designer release. I mean, you're looking at maybe, $80 to $120, something like that, for either the EDT. That's a little bit more affordable. The Tobacco Oud is going to be over $200 probably. Sexiest Women's. I actually have a little surprise for that one because for those of you who watched this channel, a couple years ago, I reviewed Nirvana Bourbon by Elizabeth and James. Now that's relevant because, well, for 2 reasons. Number one is it was horrible. It was an awful fragrance. But the second one was that's the house by the Olsen twins. And so, you know what? In their honor, because I felt a little bad, I wasn't a big fan of the other one. My Sexiest Women's actually goes to Nirvana Amethyst by Elizabeth and James. Really like this one. And I like it for two reasons at least, right? Number one is when it comes to as I said earlier, when it comes to either the men's or the women's, but especially on the women's side with tobacco, I'm not a huge fan of honey mixed with tobacco. I prefer more tobacco and leather, especially on the guy side. And Nirvana Amethyst to me is a great women's perfume that is tobacco-based without honey. And so for that reason, it's my Sexiest Women's. And it's also kind of cool, right, that it's the Olsen twins. Come on. I mean, who didn't watch Full House? So, and I felt kind of bad, actually, that I didn't care for the first release that I reviewed from them. So anyway, and then another reason is that it's a cheapie. You can get this for around $25-30 for a bottle. So that's quite different than Journey Woman. That will be about 10 times that. No exaggeration. So that's my Sexiest Women's. And then my personal favorites for me on the men's side, come on. Can you beat Man in Black by Bulgari? Pretty difficult, my friends. It's pretty much got it all by the best parfumé of all time, and I love absolutely. Actually, I love everything about Man in Black except for one thing, which is I think it's the first or second bottle I've ever had that was it was opaque, and so I actually ran out, and I didn't know that I did because on the last couple of days it was like, what's going on here? But I burned through it so fast that I didn't think that I was done with the bottle, but I used so much of it so quickly. I have to tell you, I like when the bottle shows the juice. All right, so that'd be my only thing if Man in Black could just come out by. So if Bulgaria, if you're watching, number one, sponsor me, and number two is please make a translucent bottle. That would be great because I want to see the juice. Still, Man in Black. My favorite when it comes to tobacco-based fragrances, and really probably a top 3 or 4 all-time, any category. Absolutely love Man in Black. And then on the women's side, I'm gonna go with a tie, and it's the two I already mentioned. So here's what I would envision for tobacco-based fragrances on the women's side. During the day, I would say Journey Woman by Amouage. Again, it's very pricey, though, so if you can't pull that off, it is wonderful, though. I also reviewed that one. Really, really like Journey Woman by Amouage. And then at night, I think I would go for, so after The Office, I think I would go to Nirvana Amethyst. And then if price is an issue for you, of course, then you would want to go Nirvana Amethyst, because seriously, for 20, 25, 30 bucks, the bottle, that is a cheapie, and it's really nice, a very nice tobacco-based perfume. All right, folks, there you have it. That is my list. What do you like? What are your favorite tobacco-based fragrances? What are some that appeared on the list that surprised you, or what would you have liked to have seen on this list? What's your personal favorite? Let me know what you think in the comments, and also let me know if you have any ideas for future top 10 lists or any sort of topic or theme that you would like me to pursue. I really appreciate that, actually, and I've had so much fun doing these. Okay, so take care of yourself. Have a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you next Friday. And always remember, fragrance marks the celebration of today. Take care, everybody. Welcome to the bonus feature. As promised, I said I would go over a few fragrances that didn't make it onto my top 10, but really it could be actually only because I have not tried these fragrances. I ran a couple threads in Fragrantica asking people what their favorites were with regard to tobacco-based fragrances. And there were 4 that showed up a lot, and it had a lot of popularity, and people said like this is the best ever, and it just so happens that I have never smelled them. All right, so I can't include them in my top 10 or as an honorable mention. I can't speak to them, but in the future I would really like to smell many, but specifically these 4. So here they are. If I redid this list in a year or two, perhaps these would make it on. One that got a lot, and I don't know anything about this one, is Tobacco by Frank Poulet, I think is the pronunciation, and people really, really appreciate that one. And apparently it is a really nice tobacco smell mixed with cloves. But again, I can't speak to it, but it certainly has piqued my interest, and it got a lot of love. One of the ones that, if you're on the niche side, one of the ones you probably thought was going to show up on the top 10, but it's just because I haven't smelled it yet, is Chergui by Serge Lutens, or Lutens, or Luton, and that one is one that you're going to, if you stumbled upon my channel because of the tobacco and you're looking at different episodes, different reviewers, this one I would assume is just going to be practically on everybody's. I just haven't smelled it yet, so it is a niche release. It's more expensive, but I wanted to give it voice here because it is a wonderful unisex release, and a lot of people absolutely love this fragrance. And then the third one would be Red Tobacco by Mancera. That's another one that is, if I'm not mistaken, is unisex, and a lot of people spoke highly of this one. I reviewed one Mancera already, and I really liked it, and so I'd like to know more about this house. Definitely want to smell it. Red Tobacco by Mancera. And then the fourth one was one I had never even heard of at all, which was, I'll try to pronounce it, but you can see it written in post, which is Jasmine et Cigarette by État Libre d'Orange. I hope that's close. Jasmine et Cigarette pour État Libre d'Orange. Which is, it looks like, well, Jasmine and a Cigarette by the État Libre. I'm assuming it means like the state of freedom or something, État Libre of the Orange. So that must be the house. État Libre d'Orange. And it is Jasmine et Cigarette, so it must be tobacco and jasmine, okay? But again, a lot of people spoke very, very highly of this one, very enthusiastic, a lot of recommendations, and a lot of people said it's a very dirty tobacco. So very, very cigarette ashtray smell to that. And I wanted to include that. Okay, and then, so those are the four that I would like to turn to. If you could speak to them, let me know. I'd be curious. I have a feeling that Chergui would be the one that people would talk about the most on this list of the four. But as I said, I wanted to at least give this to you in case, you didn't see it on the top 10. And also, just to tell you where I'll be going with this. And one of these four could be on my top 10 list if I do tobacco again. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And have a wonderful week. Take care.